Welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode number 329. My name, it happened right away. Oh my God, my cat, right away. I'm going to leave that in there as I start the episode. And then didn't I tell you this, Chris
You
Weber,
did.
right before the interview? And it happened last interview with Sean Bevan. This has happened with Fat Mike from NoFX. GB, he just jumps on my mixer at my home studio as soon as I'm starting the episode, but I love him so much. This is what happens. Guys, I was just in Florida for a wedding, and all weekend I'm like, I miss my cats. I miss my cats. And this is what I get when I get back to work. Anyway, welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion. My name is Brando. Welcome, Mr. Chris Weber, Marcelle Sirkus. Thank you both for joining me again. I know it's been a while.
Yeah, I remember talking to you years ago.
Yeah. Where are you located now, Chris?
I'm still kind of in the same area, about a couple miles from that backdrop that you have of Fairfax. So I'm still within a couple minutes from Fairfax.
You like that? So if you're watching on our YouTube channel, I'm not actually on location at Fairfax High School. This is I don't know. Zoom is pretty cool. I mean, Chris, you were also talking off air before. You know, when we last spoke, it was just old school radio, just over the phone. That's fine. But ever since the pandemic, you know, I'm here at home. So instead of seeing my background, where there may be a cat at some point, I have one cat that likes to hide or just like hang behind me, like all behaved on the couch. And then there's GB who likes to jump on things. And I could re-edit it, but I'm not going to because that's the podcast.
Just so you know, before you go on, I don't know if Marcelle remembers, but the picture that you have has fences and gates around it. And when I went, and I would think Marcelle remembers that there weren't any gates. You could kind of walk in and out, amble in and out whenever you wanted. They didn't put I don't think they put the fences up until after the shootings. There was like a shooting at the school probably in 85 or something.
I think maybe before that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then they put those fences up, but those didn't used to be there. Those red things in the background if you're looking at the video.
Okay, I appreciate that. So if you're joining us, when we had Marcelle on, you know, you're an author. When I told my fiance like who I'm interviewing today, and she's like, "Oh yeah, that Shiksa book," because you sent it to me. You sent me your what's the exact title? Tell me, because I don't have it in front of me. Forgive me.
Shiksa's Guide to Jewish Cooking, Shiksa's Guide to Jewish Marriage.
Yeah.
It's like a humor series.
I love it. And that's where we were able to bond. So Marcelle's, you know, an author, a screenwriter, and, you know, our hook at the beginning when I was, you know, with the 6 Degrees of GNR Bacon podcast, going to Fairfax High School with Slash and Tracii Guns. And, you know, you had a great story about Flea running around naked, which is nothing seems to have changed. And Chris, obviously we spoke at the time, and I mean, it's been a few years, so I may ask you some of the same questions. But obviously, Hollywood Rose, you know, everything you've been such a contributor to Guns N' Roses, but not everyone knows your name unless you're, you know, a diehard like myself. And it's glad to see some of your works get out on the box set as well. So we can maybe talk about those this time around. I don't think, you know, like The Plague was out or Newark Tune was out. So I don't know, maybe we could talk about those. But I don't know. Let's go back to high school. Isn't that what we all kind of want to reminisce about? Or not? I always got. If you can believe it, I was more awkward in high school. More awkward than this. Like if you knew me in high school, if you thought I would do radio, I was just very quiet, very reserved. So I kind of want to know, maybe like if we could start with you, Chris, because I don't know how much we spoke about Fairfax itself with you. What kind of kid were you in high school? You were obviously musical, you know, in a band, but were you a band geek? Were you one of the cool kids? What kind of a, you know, high school kid were you?
Geez, I don't think I fit into either of those definitions. You know, I'd been playing since I was about 9. So through junior high, I was like active in like the jazz band and even the orchestra. We had a great music instructor, Mr. Copper, that created a bunch of electric guitar parts from violin parts that I used to play in the orchestra. And of course got put into, you know, a lot of pomp and circumstance for graduations and things like that. so I had been playing through, since I was young, and then into junior high school. So when I got to Fairfax, I had already started to have some bands. So I'd already started playing. So I actually felt like I was kind of like just on the precipice of kind of like busting out into, to the clubland at that point, start
Okay.
playing. So.
Very cool. And so, Marcelle, were you in the same? Obviously, it's very cool. This is a high school reunion. I like to do these reunions on the show. I've done it with Roberta Freeman and Teddy Zigzag, and just kind of have those reunions.
Yeah.
Were you in the same grade as Chris? Like, were you friends then, or did you become friends afterwards? Like, what?
I was 1 year ahead. Yeah, I
Okay.
was 1 year ahead. So we were at school at the same time.
So-
But I remember Chris and I and his friend Dean and my friend Debbie like going to Waddles Park and hanging out after school, and Chris and I playing music together, and then later on jamming with Tracii at Chris's parents' house in Laurel Canyon. Like, we spent a lot of time together there, and just all move in, his parents his parents would like go out of town, and
Yeah.
everybody would take over the house. And I remember, I think I told the story last time I was thinking about it, when it was either Tracii and Izzy, like they decided they were going to dye their hair black. And I remember, Chris, you were like really concerned. You're like, dude, do not get dye on my pool. My parents will fucking kill me. And that shit was everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
it was crazy. So yeah, we used to play music and, together. And yeah, Chris, Tracii, me, and later Axel and Izzy, like all of us at Chris's parents' house all the time.
That's incredible. Did you have a nickname for your house, or was it just Chris's house? Your parents are out of town.
I don't think I don't think there was any nickname, but I think that there, I think everybody has a story of that house. There was a couple, and it moved into sort of years later, when we started to really take advantage of the club scenes and after hours at the, 2 o'clock in the morning after the Rainbow, going up to that house. So it became a real destination for a lot of people.
Did you clean up well after, or did your parents must know? I mean, I got to give your parents.
I don't know. I think I did like kind of a risky business. Isn't that where it like sort of slides through the house trying to clean up real quick before?
That's a really good analogy, because, Brandon, like, we're not talking about some shack in Laurel Canyon. Like, it was beautiful. It's a really beautiful house.
Yeah, missed that house. That was a good house.
Yeah, I want you to help me set the scene, and exactly, because if you can compare maybe just the high school to something else too. Is there an analogy? Because I'll be honest, I'm always transparent. I am watching Degrassi right now, so I'm just thinking, is Fairfax anything like Degrassi, or is it like what kind? Was it a typical high school? Like, because if you look at the list of alums and alumni, I mean, it couldn't have been the typical high school. Is there a way you can describe, as we're seeing the outside of it right now, is there a way you can describe the inside, and what, if you can remember, like what it was like walking down the halls, were there, were people making out under the locker, next to the lockers? What was happening? Nothing like that. Metal detectors, like, tell me, like, was it like?
I mean, Marcelle might have a better memory of it, but as I was saying in the beginning, I mean, it was pretty easy going. I think a lot of the, at least the kids that I kind of knew, all came from kind of similar households where parents were kind of like, they weren't micromanaging or sort of, over the shoulders of the kids. They kind of let them out. I mean, this was in a day where you can kind of just go off and say, I'll be back later tonight. And your parents would be like, okay.
Yeah, you could go off and say, I'll be back on Monday. And that would be okay too.
Wow. A different world, a totally different world.
Yeah, I remember like leaving for lunch. Like, they used to have an open campus and then they closed the campus. My friend and I snuck out through a hole in the fence behind a tennis court, like at the outskirts of the high school. And nobody cared. Like, we just walked out, and then we got in a huge amount of trouble sneaking back in. So then the rule was, once you're out, just don't even try to go back. Like, they wouldn't even miss you. And I don't remember really doing a lot of work or homework. Like, I have a son now in high school, and it is like really, really different. Like, I just remember being really social. I guess somebody was doing work, but I don't think I was doing a lot. I don't know if Chris was doing a lot, but I just don't remember homework. I don't remember term papers or being stressed out. Like, kids today are stressed.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't care anything about that. It was like, yay, I get to go to school and hang out at Cantor's and then go to Melrose,
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You remember getting out for lunch and going over to Helen's for fried rice?
The best, of course. And then there was
Yeah.
that payphone right in front of this little Chinese restaurant, Brandon, right across the street from our school. And it had like what, Space Invaders or Pole Position or something. There was like one game, right?
Mhm.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we'd hang out at Helen's and get rice. And then there were, you could call that payphone. Like I'd go home after school and go, hey, who's there? Who's hanging out?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, I'll come back.
It seemed like it was just kind of one giant, gang almost. Like was the whole school together? Were there cliques? Because again, there were separate bands that came out of there. So I'm curious that translate into cliques, because you guys clicked, keep using that word. How was it like, or did everybody just have school spirit at Fairfax?
I don't know. I never really felt connected to Fairfax in a sort of a school spirit sort of way. I don't even, certainly didn't. I don't even think I knew what the names of our sports teams were. It was really about just going there, seeing my friends, playing music after school or on the weekends. Yeah, I don't know. Marcelle, was there?
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, it was a community of people that got along with each other. And like the school was just a setting. Like I didn't go to football games. We didn't go to like, musicians or whatever. My group of friends and punk rockers, like we didn't go to the games. We didn't have school spirit. And it's true. Like I was thinking about that. Like I didn't know that the Fairfax are called the Lions. Like I didn't know that until 10 years ago. No idea.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that you both, it's the same, you have the same story. So I imagine if I were to ask, Flea or Slash, or that they probably would say the same thing, or Tracii Guns, they would have the same, memories of Fairfax as you. So I guess who met, since you were older, Marcelle, one year, forgive me, you're only 1 year. I don't want to make it seem like you're older. I know it's impolite. Who knew, bless you, who knew Slash first, I guess, and who introduced, or was he just part of that a group when you went to go hang out? If we can go down the line of like famous alum there and your connection.
Yeah, I met Slash because he lived around the block from me, so early teens, 13, 14.
Mhm.
And then we had an after school job together at 15. But we didn't like, jam. Like I'd go to his house and he was playing guitar, at 15. Like go to his house, he'd just be playing guitar in his room, hang out.
We may, and again, just like with Chris, it's been a few years, Marcelle. So if you had said that the previous episode, I have no recollection. It's been a few years, but
It's
again,
been a while.
these are people that are still finding this podcast every single day. So if there is a repeat story, it wouldn't be the first time on a radio show where that happens. So Chris, then you didn't meet Saul, I guess, until high school?
Yeah, I didn't definitely met him after Marcelle. It was it must have been at Fairfax and because the year after Fairfax, like a lot of the times that I spent with Slash was like in the years following that. So I think that summer between either Fairfax and when I went to the next year to North Hollywood High, certainly, yeah, you know what? There's a timeline that I just can't put together in my head right now. But I was friends with Tracii before that.
Okay.
And spent more time with Tracii. Sort of.
We used to jam with Tracii together.
Yeah, you and your Rickenbacker, right?
Like, yeah. It's funny too, because I have like my Rickenbacker. Honestly, just till a couple of months ago, I started keeping it out on the guitar stand. Like it's so precious to me. Usually it's in the case and under the bed. It's really funny too, because there was an earthquake this morning, but I put away my Rickenbacker last night and I took out the Fender bass, which I don't know if you can see it. It's like that white bass.
Yeah.
And so, so I've got my Fender there, and that bass was played by Duff at the Roxy. So there it is.
Wow. Oh, very, very cool. Yeah, keep that a little bit in frame. Yeah, now we can. Okay, awesome. And that's obviously a picture of you above it.
Yeah, with my Rickenbacker.
Great setup. Yeah, very cool.
My first child was my Rickenbacker.
Hmm.
Yeah, but that was a fretless that I got. I bought it up from punk rock band called the Stepmothers. And Duff was like, can I play that? The fretless? And I was like, "Oh, all right, and I like guarded that thing at the Roxy like crazy."
I'm assuming you met Duff later on because he was not part of that high school. But so, or when did he get? I know I'm gonna have to jump around. So Chris, it's okay if you don't get the timelines right. So because it's so long ago. I'm lucky I remember what I did yesterday. So I appreciate you guys going all the way back to high school. It was my 20th anniversary of my 20th reunion of high school, which is just mind blowing. So thank you both of you two for reaching down into your memories for this. You know what? I don't want to lose it. We're talking going back to Tracii. Was it three, you three, or was it a band? Like, what were you looking to do? Were you just jamming with Tracii Guns? How did that? And was he wasn't Tracii Guns at the time, or was he?
No, Tracii Ulrich.
Tracii Ulrich. Yeah. This was right after Pyrus, right? Because the band so who was in Pyrus? That was like the real high school band, right?
Yeah. Danny was the bass player.
Okay.
Is it Danny Tall, or was he in Pirates?
I'm not sure.
And then the drummer was, can't remember.
Yeah, that's weird. Because like we weren't in Pyrus.
Okay.
No, I mean,
But we played with Tracii after Pyrus.
I was always trying to get into whatever band he was in, and that's when I think he just gave up on me asking him over and over, and he was like, here, meet Izzy. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just create my own band, because I think he was just tired of me saying like, Tracii, just let's play together. And
so then what did you see in Tracii? Because obviously he's still making music today with LA Guns, still very successful. What did you see? Was it just did you think he was going to become a big star, or was it sort of like a friend connection? Like, what was your bond with Tracii Guns, Chris, that we were following him around and asking him, can I?
Well, I mean, we were friends. I mean, it's just that he had a band and I wanted to start playing. But we spent, I don't know, it was a good year spending a lot of time together. That's kind of what led up to him introducing me to Izzy. So the year prior to that, kind of we went to the beach a lot, stayed over at his house, over kind of just below Fairfax. I can't remember what street he was on. His mom's house. Tracii's always been, and I don't know if Marcelle would say the same thing, but he's a really driven person. He's got a great ego strength. He's very, very confident, and you could always just tell that like he's just gonna nothing's gonna kind of get in his way. So it's a nice kind of forced energy to be around. Is his sort of I'm just moving forward, get out of my way sort of attitude.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good person to be around, obviously, with good energies. So when he introduced you to Izzy, what was it, again, conversations years ago, if you want to go back to listen to those episodes, do. What was your first impression of him?
Of Izzy?
Yeah.
I mean, I actually just talked about this with Mark, right? Mark Hanner. That night when Tracii introduced me to him, I was like, I mean, he definitely looked like the guy that's in Hit Parader or the guy in Circus, right? So I'm looking at a real person in front of me, which was Izzy. It was probably 21. I might have been 16. But he looked like the pages of the rock magazines that I like to, that I've been looking at for, 15 years. So I was like, I'm in the presence of a sort of a rock star. I mean, the music obviously came afterward, but like, introducing me to him was like, okay, this is a real thing. As opposed to, hey, this is somebody that's in my, biology class. Do you want to play, with them?
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And Marcel, I do remember there was a story that you said about Izzy asking to borrow your flat iron, your curling iron.
Yeah, we shared a crimping iron.
Crimping iron. Sorry.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't use one. So.
Right. Well, see, because I met him at the Troubadour when he was playing in another band. He was playing bass in a band at the time. And I was about 15, I think, or maybe 16. And that's where I met Izzy at the Troubadour. It's like we started hanging out. Like I knew the singer in his band. I think it was Shire, maybe Chris.
Must have been Shire. Was that Mike or Dave or
Alan St. Elisa, right? Was in Shire?
The band was Shire.
was it Dave Jagos?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. While
because Izzy was playing bass. Like I didn't even know Izzy as a guitar player until much later. Even at Chris's house when we were playing, Izzy, was playing bass.
Did you get the same impression of Izzy, that he looked like a page out of Rip magazine? What was your impression of him?
Yeah, he's just really cool. I didn't even think about like music or he's going to be a rock star or anything like that, but I was into music and I just thought, he was a cool person. It was fun to hang out.
And was it also the same thing with Slash? I mean, no, well, I guess Saul was just, did you foresee him becoming something? Again, my brain is on Tracii, so now I'm making in my brain, my chemically imbalanced brain, the Drake comparison. Like where he's just, he's going to be a superstar in this high school. So did you foresee that? As I asked the same thing about Tracii, did you was there anything you gravitated towards? Did you expect big things from Saul, or was he just a cool guy to play guitar with, or play music with, rather?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, my impression was, and again, we knew him at different times, and Marcelle, knows him from much earlier on. But I got a sense that if he didn't find himself doing some, catapulted into this sort of stardom, he would have just kept playing, and I don't think it would have mattered to him if he was like flying jets or just going to the local club and playing. I think he'd be still playing. But he was never that focused on sort of like, I can hardly wait to just make it big. That wasn't his style at all. That's my experience with him.
Yeah, I agree. Even knowing him, before that, I agree. It was just always about playing. He just loved to play and he was good and you knew he was good. But, at the time we were coming up, I didn't look at anybody and say, oh, that guy is going to be the next Motley Crue. There was no Motley Crue. Like
Right.
There was, when we were coming up, we looked to, Ozzy, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, right? Like those were our heroes. Like, my friends maybe had Donny Osmond on the wall when they were in, grade school, whatever. Like I had pictures of Steve Harris and Geddy Lee, Geddy Lee, like the most unattractive, possibly rock star, in the history of the planet. And that, that is absolutely my idol. Like Slash, like, no, if you tell me Geddy Lee is down the street right now at Starbucks, like the interview's over. Like, that's who I looked up to. I would run to that.
I gotcha.
So I didn't look at anybody and think, oh, they're going to be like that guy or like that guy. No, I didn't really foresee that.
You know what I should have done, and I'll ask you about him as well. He was a guest on a while ago, episode 50. GB, please do not jump on the mixer. Okay, he went the other way. He gave up on me giving him treats. This is the show. This is the show, guys. Guns N' Roses and cats. It is what it is. Rob Gardner. The original. Not everyone knows this. They think, I love Steven Adler, but Rob Gardner is the original drummer of Guns N' Roses. What can you tell me about Rob in high school? Either of you. I know this guy. I should be more.
Marcelle?
Yeah, I was going to say, well, there was Rob Gardner, right? But then there was Titus Sloan. I don't think Rob played in Titus Sloan.
What, with Ronnie?
With Ronnie, yeah.
But
I remember playing with Rob.
Okay.
And Tracii.
I just played with Rob.
You did?
I did. We got Rob. It was me, Rob, Marky Martinez.
No way.
And a couple other guys, Stan. We all got together in the Valley and played like a little sort of.
Did you do the Universal thing?
No.
Universal City Bar and Grill?
No, was that? No.
Okay.
I was gonna do that, but something, but just prior to that.
Yeah.
Just prior to that. Yeah, that was wasn't that the tattoo at the tattoo studio?
On the third. Oh yeah, the tattoo thing the week before.
Yeah, but no, we just played at a rental that they put out and brought some people down. It was, but anyway, me and Rob played. It was good.
Well, that's great.
Some Rush songs, some Zeppelin songs, maybe a Judas Priest song. Who knows?
Oh, I love that. No GNR.
I'll see if I can get a picture of it, and you can. I'll send it to you, Brando.
Oh, I appreciate it. But no GNR though. I because again, that's like a weird, almost reunion of not Hollywood Rose, but I don't know. That's like a weird satellite reunion of GNR. Again, that's what the podcast is about. That's just that's interesting. So let me ask, when you play now, Chris, is that just to play with friends? Or are you going out booking gigs? Like, what's your philosophy now? Like, what's your path now?
Just to play with friends. You know, somebody will ask me to do some recording every, 3 or 4 years, and I'll go do that. Or I think back to Marky, I think he's setting up some show at the Whiskey or something in a couple months that I'm going to go do. So that'll be fun. Getting
Cool.
out back on stage at the Whiskey, which I haven't even stepped in the doors of that in at least 15 years.
Wow.
Okay.
I think I played there with UPO maybe 15 years ago.
Now let me ask, because there's, I should show. Let me see if I can share the screen right now. Well, I know I shouldn't say. Let me see if I can do it. I know I could do it. This is me stalling. Let me press the button, share screen. Screen, very professional here. One of these days, that's my Ninja Turtle background with all my passwords. So that's wonderful. I really need a producer. If you go to the Fairfax High School, look at all these lists of alum. These are famous people. Of course, this sticks out to us, right, Marcelle? Mike Super Jew Epstein, the Major League Baseball player, that sticks out to us, of course. But a name that's kind of brought up, and I want to get into Chili Peppers, but I didn't see him on here, and I don't know how long he, if he did go to high school there, is Lenny Kravitz.
He went to Beverly.
Okay, so is that a misconception that he and Slash went to high school together?
Yeah, but they did go to high school together because
Okay.
Slash left Fairfax for a little while and went to Beverly.
There you go. Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Now I want to talk about. I mean, I can't believe they just put out a new song. Again, we're in 2022. I had to think about it for a second because with the pandemic, who knows what year this is anymore. And Guns N' Roses, they're gonna put out more new music or whatever. If you want to classify it as reworked Chinese democracy songs, that's a whole other argument. But the Red Hot Chili Peppers just put out a new song, and they're coming out with a new album, and it's just amazing that you knew these guys way back when. This really is Guns N' Roses and Red Hot Chili Peppers high school. I know we got some memories of. It's not the original Red Hot Chili Peppers. It can't be, unfortunately, with the loss of a Hillel Slovak all those years ago. What can you, Marcel? I know we spoke about that, and are you still friendly with his brother? Or I know you were at the time.
With Jamie, yeah, we haven't really connected in a while, but yeah, I mean, if I ran into him, we would be.
Okay. But I don't think, Chris, I asked you about Hillel. Do you have any memories of?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
Then let me pick your do you have any Red Hot Chili Pepper memories of Fairfax High School? Because I know Marcel does, obviously, but I want to pick your brain, of course. If you
I don't. I mean, it's a couple of years older than me.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if either of those guys were at Fairfax when I was there. If Flea or Anthony were at Fairfax.
So what year were they, Marcel? If you knew them, didn't you have a slow dance with
Hillel?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what year were they ahead of you in years? And that why
They were ahead of me, yeah. But I had a friend. I was friends with this girl, Beth Stinson, and she was dating Flea, like in high school. So we used to go to parties at her house. But I think I met them. But I met them even before that. I met them when they were called What Is This? They used to play at the Troubadour. Maybe it was different. Like me and my girlfriends, we would go to the Troubadour when I was like 15. I don't even know if there was an age limit at the time or not. But that's
no, you just couldn't go into the bar.
Yeah, right, in the front bar.
Yeah, you couldn't go in the front bar.
But we used to, right? Anyway. And Ruby, and I kind of remember the bartenders. Yeah, I remember drinking like Kahlua and milk, at 15 at the bar. But that's where I remember meeting Hillel, basically. And I thought Flea, like that's when I fell in love with bass. Like if it wasn't for that day, I might have finished college. It was like a fait accompli right there when I was 15. Seeing Hillel play guitar and Flea on bass. Wow. And again, just it's that's why I want to take the opportunity to talk about Hillel when we can, because he shouldn't be forgotten. But the fact that Flea is he's still
the Flea that I remember, and I didn't go to high school with him, but he's still slapping the bass like crazy. And in the new video that they have up, I'm like, this is the Flea that I grew up with. So I have to imagine. I can't even imagine what he was like in high school. Actually, can you, if people haven't listened to that episode, or you can just remind me that story, the Naked Flea story. Can you just retell it? Because it was a
Naked Flea story. Yeah, we were at a party at my girlfriend's house, and Flea took off all his clothes and ran around the house naked. At 15. Nothing happened. It was just
streaking.
I don't know. It was just Flea, I guess.
That's all he needed to say.
Wasn't wearing a sock or anything. It's like full birthday suit.
Fair enough. GB, please do not. He is reckless today. He's glad that we're home. I think we were gone all weekend, so I have to keep an eye out. This is the professionalism I work with. Well,
have you read Flea's book?
Was it Acid for the Children?
Yeah.
I have not. Yeah, I heard it's brilliant, but I have not yet.
Yeah, it's really good. And I went to see him speak about it when the book first came out, and it was really interesting. He talked about his jazz roots, and he didn't really want to be in a rock band. He was really just wanted to play jazz, and he's just a really incredible musician. His roots are very different than us. Like I learned how to play bass by playing Led Zeppelin and learning Rush songs. But Flea was like a really scholarly musician.
Okay.
Different kind of talent that he brought to it.
I did. Oh, I hear your cat.
Yeah.
Oh, see, all right. See, Guns N' Roses and cats. I can't change the name of the podcast now, but that's essentially what it is. Well, that's cool to get that again, the timeline, Chris. Again, even if you don't have the stories, again, just to kind of put it all together, because again, there are misconceptions that they all went to high school together at the same time, or like I mentioned before with Lenny Kravitz not going to Fairfax, but he did when he went to with Slash in another school. But as you see this, if you're looking on YouTube, it's good to get the timeline on all these names, because obviously you didn't go to high school with Warren Zevon. That's well before your time. Phil Spector. But again, go to this list of alumni.
Oh, wow.
I mean, look. Do you know everybody? Byron Allen, David Arquette. What is this? I already said Mike Superjew, Epstein on there. Tracii Guns, of course. Timothy Hutton, the actor, the original drummer of the Chili Peppers, of course. Jack Irons, Tito Jackson. I mean, were you in biology with Tito Jackson? Anthony Kiedis, of course. What a big case. So those listening on the podcast version. Looking at Mickey Rooney. I know neither of you went to school.
No. I know, but I like Mickey Rooney. He was a good actor.
Yeah,
I think, it was interesting that year. I don't even know what year it was. Was it 83 or 83? It must have been 83. Maybe it's 84. 80. But when Tracii and Slash played that in the Quad, did you see that in person, Marcelle? Were you there?
I remember Slash playing Titus Sloan.
Right, they did that, but they also, sorry, they didn't play in the Quad. They played in so there was a guitar battle, and it was Tracii and Slash, and it was in that building right on the Fairfax side, that small building to the right of where the Quad would have been. You know what I'm talking about? There's it's like a playhouse now or something.
Yeah, the Greenway Theater or something.
Okay. Yeah, they played in that, which was at the time was just a big room with a stage, and they both played solos. And so one would play a solo, and then it would be it was kind of like Crossroads or whatever the type of thing. Yeah, I remember that. I remember standing there. Yeah, I'm thinking back. I would oh man, I wish I could have gotten in on that, but I don't know who would organize it. Maybe there was a sort of a challenge. I challenge you to a guitar off.
Right. I remember that about you. When I think about Chris Webber, I always think about Chris playing guitar. And Chris was a great guitar player. I was really excited to jam with him and hang out with him.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, for sure.
Was that, I must have touched on it. And I'm looking at it now. Marcelle was episode 77. And, we're almost 300 episodes past that. So again, forgive. Was that, how common was that to jam with, to ask maybe an obvious question, to jam with a girl? Was that a big deal at that time? Because now, it shouldn't be, but was
I
that
mean, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of female musicians at that age group at that age. So yeah, I think that it was that, but Marcella would always, I mean, this is my experience with Marcelle, was she was just always part of the crew. So it was not anything unique about it. It wasn't like, oh, you show up and there's somebody and you didn't expect them. It's just Marcelle was always part of that group. So you didn't really think about it like that. At least I didn't. And she could play. I mean,
there wasn't that issue of, I'm just thinking of myself, how I would be, band members getting crushes on Marcelle and being like, we got to keep this professional. probably had to turn a lot of people down, a lot of guys down, break a lot of hearts, Marcelle. Yeah.
Still doing it.
A great story that you told again back in episode 77, so you don't have to retell this one, was Axel read you the lyrics to Back Off Bitch on
This was at Chris's, and I'm not even sure, like I was thinking about it. This was at Chris's house, and we were sitting in that small room, and we were sitting on the bed, and Axel was teaching us songs, and it was either Shadow of Your Love or Back Up Bitch. Maybe it was Shadow of Your Love. And like, I remember thinking, yeah, this guy cannot sing. Like, yeah, it was really, I mean, it was like really close, we were just in this really small room, and it was like, yeah, Shadow of Your Love. I don't think so. And I handed my bass to Izzy, like literally. And I remember the moment that happened.
Oh,
and Chris was playing.
Chris, what do you remember about that? Because I don't think we got that story.
I mean, I don't know that moment. I mean, we, one of the rooms at my parents' house, and both of those guys kind of lived there for a long period of time. I think Izzy was the first to go, and kind of Axel kind of stayed on for a longer period of time. As a matter of fact, when I moved out, I think Axel was living at my parents' house for a while, even when I was gone.
Really? They stayed?
Well, he stayed. I don't, for lack of anywhere else to stay, probably. He'd take extremely long showers. He'd take like, my dad was always like, who takes an hour and a half shower? With water actually going for an hour and a half. It was crazy. But I don't remember that. But the room in the back of the house was kind of the music room, and we had a drum kit there. And when we did all the writing that we did was kind of in that room, except for Move to the City, which I wrote after the band broke up. So, I wrote that at the Holly Drive house. Remember the Holly Drive house up near the Hollywood Bowl, Marcelle?
No,
I moved there. Dean moved in with me.
Really?
Barbie and I lived there for a while.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I remember Izzy's place on Selma. Remember Izzy's apartment on Selma,
sure.
right behind the coconut teaser?
Well, Gary's house. Remember Gary? That's where we were. Yeah. Well, anyway, this is not about Fairfax, but yeah, he lived in that in the bottom sort of apartment underneath the house up Selma, right?
Yeah, there were like a little string of, apartments.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I like that though. As we're talking, that's kind of why I wanted you both on, is just to have you both have these. Hey, do you remember this? Do you remember that? Because I can't do that. These are things that I can't look up or research at a time, just to pick your brains about and reminisce through both of your eyes, your shared experiences, or adding both of your stories to come together for a more clear story at times. It's always fun. But since because I know I don't want to keep you guys here forever, but we still got some more time. I know with Chris, I love when you comment, when I always share my love for Anything Goes, and I appreciate you follow Appetite for Distortion on Facebook, and because I love that song. It bothers me when it's, people say Appetite's a perfect record, and sometimes people are like, Anything Goes. No, that's first. That's up there with. They're all tied for first for me for Appetite. It's a brilliant song. Move to the City, brilliant. Whether it's the way he did it, Axel or the band did it with the background background orchestra or the acoustic version, which I'm just blown away by. But maybe you can clear this up because obviously Wikipedia is not the most reliable source. Can you talk about Shadow of Your Love a bit? I guess two songs that I want to know what your involvement was, Shadow of Your Love and Back Off Bitch. If you could talk about that, because there seems to be some, I don't know if there's controversy.
Yeah, I mean, not to muddy the waters anymore. You know, those songs were written at that time. They're, you know, I can't really talk about it other than, you know, my experience with it was that we kind of wrote all those songs together.
Okay, if you can't go further than that,
yeah, I mean, I didn't end up, yeah.
Okay.
There's all sorts of sort of like who copywrote first and all that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, those were all parts of those were songs of our band of Hollywood Rose. And we had, you know, we had a lot of songs, some of which are on the records, some of which Cleopatra Records released on the Roots of Guns N' Roses record, which is the demos that I did with them during Hollywood Rose times.
Okay.
So yeah, I can't really clarify it anymore other than to say kind of those were the songs that we all wrote at the time. And, you know, the ownership of some of them are, you know.
Understood. You don't have to, I gotcha. I completely understand. Then can you talk about, what about Ain't Going Down? Anything you can shed light, that song that was included on that pinball machine?
I don't know. I don't even know that song.
Oh, see Wikipedia.
Is that credited to me?
It says Weber also co-wrote Ain't Going Down from Guns N' Roses Pinball.
No.
All right. I'm gonna have to.
They can send. I mean, if there's checks involved, they're welcome to send them my way.
All right. So then let me ask you about a couple more checks that's crediting you for. When the deluxe edition of the box set came out, which I'm never $1,000. It's not going to happen. I think it's been marked down like 8 times since then. New Work. These were songs that did not have lyrics. New Work Tune and The Plague. Are you familiar with those, or did Wikipedia get that wrong?
No, not by those titles, but New Work Tune. I don't know what that would refer to. And if they credited for me, then that would have been on them from something. I mean, if it's on the box set, I'm sure Axl doesn't let anything slip without careful scrutiny. So I haven't bought a $1,000 box set, so I'll investigate.
Okay, thank you. No, because it's interesting because those seem like, as you use the roots of Guns N' Roses, and that's what the album was. We're getting this before anything. That was like the most new we got were these roots of songs, and thinking that maybe you were a part of it. These, as you were other classic songs that I enjoy. Just curious if there was a story behind it, but I guess there's.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put too much stock in Wikipedia, because I think anybody can kind of contribute to that. But I mean, anything on the records has gone through their hands. So
sure, and that's why I ask. It's not my main source, but yeah, gotta ask because people look at it and they think it is fact. So that's why here we try to clear it up as best as I can. Then a song that you did take part of, I don't know if we discussed it the first time around, Move to the City.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about creating that, you know, what your part in that was?
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, that was written when I was living at Holly Drive, which was my grandfather's house. After he passed, I got to live there, and Izzy was living there with me for a while. And and that was kind of in whether we were on a hiatus or that was the end of my participation in the band, wrote that song, and me and Izzy were gonna like create a band around that. So that was kind of one of our newer songs. So I remember creating it on, writing it, recording it on, I think I had a Tascam 244. Remember those old Tascams? Cassette tape, 4 tracks. Actually I have some cassettes, but nothing to play them on. But in any case, wrote it on that. I had a little Dr. Rhythm that I wrote the drum pattern on, and that riff, that Move to the City riff. And then yeah, and Izzy wrote the the lyrics. And that was it. And then presented it to Axel. And then I don't think I ever got to play it live. Oh, that's not true. I think I played it when we did our reunion show at Dancing Waters at the end of 85 or something like that, 84.
Okay.
You have rehearsal tapes? Like, are you sitting on a stack of cassette tapes of just
And I would have
hours and
released
hours of
those
jam?
ages ago. I do. There, you know what? Cleopatra's kind of got licensed all my old videos, and I've got like a lot of videos that are pretty terrible, but of the rehearsal stuff.
I mean, I have
if you-
crates
if
and
you-
crates of like I personally have tapes from playing in my garage
Really?
with Andre Trox from Feast of Joy. Yeah, like, and us doing songwriting, because we jammed together even up until like 1996. And I have like,
you did?
huh?
You played with Andre up through 96?
Yeah, Andre was in a band with me called Maisa and the Plan. And like, you know, we went on the road. I mean, it was great. Yeah.
Excellent.
It was after Feast of Joy.
Yeah. I miss Andre.
Yeah, me too. He's a really good friend and obviously
Yeah.
really, really great talent and a great guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got like really thousands of hours of cassette tapes, and I've been thinking about like, maybe I need to go to a studio, like a really good studio, and dub it all to, you know,
Yeah.
digital.
You got my interest peaked. I think a lot of people would want to check that out. And if anything, just for you to relive those moments.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, you must have cassette tapes, and it's true. Like, how do you even play it? You know, I had one little one, like I had one little Panasonic, right? And I was listening to my old phone messages. Like remember Record a Call?
Sure.
Okay, so I have really, really funny phone messages, like from Dizzy and like after Bordello and Cat House, like really drunk. Hey, we're coming over. You know, but I don't have anything to play it on. And I tried putting one in my little Panasonic and it just ate it right away. Right.
Yeah.
Like then I'm looking for a pencil. I'm doing the pencil thing. It's like, no, I need a really good tape deck.
I have some, I think a lot of it, because I moved to England and I was in England for the better part of the 90s and so I think a lot of stuff went missing, including a lot of my old Hollywood Rose pictures, unfortunately. So what I have left is, although I do have some videos of some rehearsals, Axel and Izzy and me, and probably Johnny, maybe even Andre. Andre might have been in those.
Really?
Yeah.
Where are those? Can we see them?
I have them. I'm always tempted just to go to a dupe place and have somebody just digitize everything.
Yeah.
But I think Cleopatra ended up with all that just for licensing purposes because they wanted everything.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that would be great. We'd love to see that.
We'll get together. I definitely have some stuff I can show you.
That'd be great.
Look at that. I'm creating reunions. You know.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I ran into Chris like, you know, 20 years go by or whatever. And it was the same thing with Tracii. We ran into each other at the elementary school with our kids. Like that's how I saw Tracii. It was the weirdest thing with Tracii because I was walking my kid. He was very small at the time. And I just heard, hey, Marcelle. And I looked up and smiled because like I was on the PTA. I had no idea who was saying hello. And it's like, hey, and he had the full beard and everything, you know. I didn't recognize him right away. But the voice was like sent a chill. And it was like, it took me right back into a rehearsal room. It was so weird. It was like, oh my God, that's Tracii. So that's where I ran into Tracii at school. And I ran into Chris at school with his little girl.
That's
yeah,
fun.
now I got two.
You have two.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Beatrice is 9 now.
Aw.
Yeah, the last time I saw Tracii was, I might have run into him since out, but I did some tracks for some band called, I guess it was Dope Snake, I think if I remember right. And he was there. He was doing a track for them too, like solos or something on the record. So I saw him there. I got a picture of us two together, which is nice. I always look back at it and go like, oh, that was like me and Tracii. And yeah.
That's really cool.
Good fond memories. Yeah, we used to roll around in that big truck of his. Remember his dad's truck?
No.
Oh, he had this ginormous truck.
Really?
Well, I felt it was big.
Was it during school?
I think so. I mean, I think that's what he took to the beach. And then he had that Opal. Remember that Opal?
I had the Opal.
Oh, you had the Opal?
Oh my
I
God.
thought that was his.
The what? No, yeah. No, I drove everybody all the time.
That orange Opal?
Oh no, I had a white one.
Was it white?
Yeah.
Oh, he had one too, because he picked me up from The US Festival. I got left at the US Festival and I couldn't get home, and I got a ride, and I got maybe 10 miles away from the fairgrounds, and then something weird happened and I ended up on the freeway.
That
And
was 82, right?
was that 82?
Yes, festival? Yeah,
Maybe 83?
Memorial Day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So he came down and picked me up.
that's really cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. And I literally put a dime in the payphone on the freeway or whatever. I'm
Right.
like, can you drive 30 miles and pick me up on Memorial Day?
That's a friend.
Yeah,
That's a friend right there.
that was
Good
a
guy.
remarkable moment. That was a really great.
That's cool. I like that. Chris, you mentioned that, you know, sometimes you'll be asked to go in and do recordings, but anything you can tell us about what you're doing right now? Anything we can check out now that you're currently working on?
No, nothing.
Okay.
I mean, nothing that's going to get released. You know, hopefully that show that I was talking about with that Marky's setting up with some known Hollywood musicians, will be fun. You know, sort of memorialize it with some sort of video. I hope somebody in the background will have an iPhone at least shooting it. But I'm open to it. I mean, you know, I've got a lot of years left, and I still play, you know.
I know I did ask you, and you don't have to respond to this again to not muddy the waters, but I think when you commented on one of my posts, and my love for Anything Goes, and I had replied to you, I would love to see you, you know, if they GNR added that back to the set, you join the stage, and you're like, not unless Izzy is there. You know, are you still in contact with him? What was the last time you spoke to Izzy?
Me and Izzy are still friends.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. He's still a man of mystery. I spoke to his Juju Hound bandmate, Rick Richards, maybe like a month or so ago. And it was like a big deal that last time he spoke to Izzy, he was in Colorado. You know, I'm just curious, you know, can you help us, if anything, without revealing his true identity and location? I understand he's the Batman of rock and roll, but in the Where's Waldo, where's Izzy? Like, is there anything you can tell us? What is he just riding motorcycles today? Just being
Right.
No, he's doing the things that he loves.
Okay.
Say
Fair
that.
enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, his decision to kind of, you know, at a, you know, which is not from him, just kind of, as I've sort of just everybody's read, to make a break from that and to kind of, you know, to GNR at their highest point, you know, that was, you know, I'm sure of a difficult choice for anybody, but you know, respect his, you know, his ability to kind of live the life that he wants to live.
I admire it. I really do.
Yeah.
That's why I'm one of the fans that it's not clamoring for him to, over the years, him to return. For me, it was always about Mom and Dad, Axl and Slash. That's what it was always about for me. But I admire that for Izzy, especially with the sobriety and just living a happy life. So, you know, as long as he's happy, I'm like with anybody in life. So I think that's absolutely amazing that he's doing. But, you know, I don't know. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. Is there like a secret Chris Webber Izzy album somewhere? Okay, you know.
No, I mean, I would be more than happy to reunite with him, any of those guys. I mean, if they wanted to throw together everybody that I was always thinking that if somebody could throw together everybody that ever played in that band and just put them all together, that would be fun. Probably fill up an auditorium, but it would be fun.
An auditorium? It would fill up the Colosseum of Rome. What are you talking about? That's what I try to do on this podcast, you know, get everybody together. And I love when bands do that. It doesn't have to be a full-time thing. Like when they brought Steven out, actually, you know, I didn't bring this up, so maybe we can I triggered my own brain. See, I'm losing it. The cat's still jumping around, so he's throwing me off. Steven, like, what do you remember of Steven in high school? Because he wasn't in class all the time, or what was his? I may have spoken about, Marcelle, if you want to respond. What do you remember about Steven back then, Steven Adler?
I remember driving him home to Slash's house. So I guess that's where he was living at the time. And I had my Opal. So I guess I was 17, but I don't remember him in school at all.
Okay.
Did he go to school?
I don't know if he was. I don't think he was ever. If he was
Chris,
a
do you
member of
remember seeing him at school?
No, you know what, Stephen and I, really didn't hang out until after I'd already left Fairfax.
Okay.
Mhm.
It was that year afterwards. I think I was at North Hollywood when I was sort of just starting with Izzy and Axel, and played a little bit. I remember jamming with Stephen a couple times.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
Again-
I think I played, there was that rehearsal studio that they had in the Valley. This is right before Duff joined, and I came and they didn't have a bass player yet, or they hadn't decided on a bass player. So I played bass at some rehearsal with them. And I was like, you know, I don't know if I would have even offered to play bass in that band, because Slash was already part of it by that point. But I just kind of like hanging out with them. I mean, Eric Mills was there, and Mark Mansfield was there.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Danny
used to
was
hang
there,
out in
remember?
studios.
Remember Danny Burrell?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
all those guys were there. Yeah, and so
Yeah, we used to jam.
mhm.
Used to jam with Danny.
Do either of you know Steve Darrow?
Yeah,
Okay, so Chris, he's been on the show before, and he thinks he remembers it correctly, that he may have been the one to give Axel the name when they were trying to figure out a new name of the band, when it was going to be Rose, and he's like, it could be AXL. He's like, why don't you just call yourself Axel? You know, so because
he gave him the name, told him the,
officially from, I guess, Bill to Axel. That
Sure.
Do you any recollection of that?
that could be true.
Okay.
I see that as being true. I mean, we were AXL. He never called himself Axel. It was always Bill. I've got a bunch of Christmas cards to my mom where he would, you know, Merry Christmas, Kathy, Bill.
Wow.
Izzy was always Izzy, but he was Bill. And so after I left and Steve joined, as a matter of fact, Steve was the bass player in that reunion gig. So me and Steve played during that.
Cool.
And I've known Steve since the 80s with that. Saw him at Mark's book signing, maybe, what was that, 25 years ago, Marcelle? Or not 25, 18 years ago.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I saw Steve then, and Slash for that matter, but he could have done it, Brando. I mean, that's.
All right.
Did you
He wasn't calling
ever,
himself that
Chris,
when I was in the
did you ever
band.
like jam at Program or Gardner Studios? Were you part of that?
At Program, what, on La Brea?
Program, yeah, by La Brea, yeah, and
What a
Selma.
dump that place was.
Oh my God, such a dump.
We did a lot of our rehearsing at Mars. Remember Mars Studios? Was it Mars?
I remember Gardner.
On Berendo?
Mm-mm.
No, I was out by the point that they had that lockout on Gardner.
Yeah, because then they moved in there.
Mhm.
But, you know, it's funny because Slash was just on Jimmy Kimmel,
Mhm.
right? And I've never gone to the show. I've never, been to the Kimmel show. But then I saw a flash of it and we were texting. I'm like, is that the old Masonic temple? And Slash is like, yeah, it was really cool inside. And I thought, I used to jam there. I had friends that used to set up equipment at the Masonic temple on Hollywood Boulevard. And we used to have like anybody who played would just come and play and jam.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really fun.
That's cool. And Marcelle, we spoke about this, not just on episode 77, but whenever we do chat, because you're nice enough, sometimes we chat on Facebook, that Fairfax could be a movie. It should be a movie.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying my best, when I do speak to you, to create the atmosphere.
I know.
what
Brandon
do you-
wants me to write the book about Fairfax.
I do. So, I mean, just like I asked Chris, like, what are you working on now? I mean, when are we going to see, the Fairfax High, the miniseries on Netflix by Marcelle Sirkus?
I know. Okay, so right now I am working on a show, but it's about ticket scalping. I don't know if Chris remembers. Like in high school, we had a crew that used to work and scalp tickets and get really good tickets for concerts. And then I took a job at a concert ticket agency, like a legit brokerage in Hollywood. And I was there for almost 10 years, the whole time while I was playing music. And it's called Stubbs. So I have this pilot and this whole series that's in development right now. But I think about the fax thing all the time. So I know I should probably do that. So you're in my head, you planted that seed. And as soon as I wrap up on this a little bit, I'll take another look at those notes. Because I have like typewritten, like from a typewriter on paper, a stack that thick. I mean, I've always written
Wow.
stories like with Axl and with Willie Conadue and my other band.
Willie Conadue.
Yeah, Willie Conadue. Remember, I was in a band with Willie after high school.
He played guitar, right?
He played guitar, yeah, great guitar player. And it was kind of like funk and kind of like Prince. It was like Prince and Led Zeppelin combined as Willie Conadue.
And you had another film. Can you Gastropod? I always see you posting or you're getting all these awards.
Yeah.
Tell
Yeah,
me-
Gastropod was great. Yeah, it was great. Short film comedy. And it's still in the festivals a little bit. So it hasn't been like widely shared. I think we have just a few more festivals coming up this summer. And then I'll probably just blast the link out there.
Man, I admire that, because it's a lot of work. I'm trying to write a book now with Doug Goldstein, former GNR manager, and
Yeah.
it's so hard to balance that with not just a podcast, but with my actual job. Trying to get married this summer and all these things, life, like cats, taking care of. It's a lot. So I admire people who do it. I really do. Before I got into radio, I wanted to be a writer, and it's just like, wow, this is just. While I think I'm good at it, it's just so much work to put in there, and it's so something I truly admire. And so, if people want to, is there information about that? Marcelle Sirkus, not the traditional spelling of circus, which
Right.
but if
Sirkus. Yeah, you can just go to my website. There's like all kinds of stuff up there. Trailer for the film and different projects.
Cool. And
Yeah.
Chris, you just have, fans like friend you on Facebook? Like, is there like if people want to see like whenever you have like an impromptu jam and you just happen to post it, would it be on Facebook or Instagram?
If I have an impromptu jam, I will post it. I think that there's again that I played with those fellows. I think it was last year. Well, it was definitely last year, but took some pictures of it and went up there, and Rob was there, and it was just kind of nice to kind of run into people that for the better part of haven't stood next to them probably for 35 years. We're standing in front of the Troubadour in the late 80s or in the Rainbow parking lot. A lot of those people aren't around anymore, but there's still a good group of people that are.
Just pick up where you left off, right? Does it feel like it did back then when you're playing?
Of course, because the relationships that we had back then were like, there was nobody was defended. Everybody was kind of just being young, and now as adults you start to put on all these sort of masks and disguises, but back then we just kind of connected on a shared love of Rush and Zeppelin, right? I remember sitting and playing, going to Dean's house and with I had my Les Paul standard, Oxblood standard, and my little Champ amp, and playing over the top of 2112, the whole thing.
The whole thing.
And he would just sit there and watch me. That's what
we have to do that then. We have to do that. Like, seriously, my mom was here, she comes over a lot, but a couple of weeks ago she was here and I was like, oh, I was playing, she's like, what is that? I'm like, Xanadu, like I've never heard you play Rush. I'm like, wow, I am full on Gen X because I have played guitar. I played bass basically, for 40 years. My mother never heard me play a Rush song. Like, this is outrageous.
Oh,
yeah.
that's crazy.
Like, I've never heard you play that music before. Like, come on. And we had a studio in our garage.
That's funny.
It's really funny. So if you know those songs, I will work on my 2112.
Right. I
finish.
Yeah. I can get myself through probably Temples of Syrinx and then try to come up with the rest of it as we go along.
Discovery. Yeah, I'm down. We might run into trouble getting a drummer though. We're going to need Dave Chuchin. We're going to need Chooch. Remember him?
No, who's that?
He was a drummer. He played with Christian Nesmith in that band called Off for a long time. Yeah. Oh, Chooch knows all of that stuff.
Yeah, Chooch.
Yeah, Dave.
My next cat is me named Chooch after him.
Chooch?
Okay. Or not. Well, and then, every time my fiance sees an orange cat, she's like, we need to get a new cat named Maxwell. I'm like, should I be that cliche? Be the Guns N' Roses fan with a cat named Maxwell? All right, sure. That works.
Definitely. My boss had a dog and named it Axel. It was like 20 minutes before Axel became Axel. It was really weird.
That is weird.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where he got the name.
Maybe he did. Yeah, from my boss's dog.
I would definitely credit Steve, though. If Steve is saying that came from him, time-wise, I think that's possible. Certainly.
Okay. Again, just not like it really matters in the grand scheme of things. It's just having these fun stories here on the Appetite for Distortion program. And I really appreciate both of you taking some time today to reminisce. I got to compliment both of you. You both still look like you're in high school. Young faces. Maybe it's the LA sun. I don't know what it is, but you both look great. And I just thank you for your time.
Thank you.
More than welcome. Happy to do it.
Awesome. So that does it for this episode of Appetite for Distortion. When will you see the next one? In the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, you'll see it. I don't know if soon is the word.